Alrighty, welcome back everyone, I am Blaze here. Today is a story called Train to Full Wipe in Unrest. Not exactly what happened, but very close, almost what happened. Bit of background. So this occurred on Project 1999 when I first got back into EverQuest after a long break. Prior to that, I got up to max level on EverQuest 2 as a troubadour in the Kunark expansion. Boy, was that fun. And so I had these nostalgic memories of, I remember vaguely what the Bard class was like back at EverQuest 1 and how much vastly superior it was to what it became in EverQuest 2. The troubadour class always felt very weak relative to what it was capable, what the Bard class was capable of doing in EverQuest 1. So I wanted to give it a spin, and I chose Aeonic as the character name because in EverQuest 2, the troubadour epic was the Aeonic Axe. It's sort of a reference to the lore of the game. There's a goddess, a minor goddess called Ina Ro, who is this musician, and she is the daughter of Solusek Ro, the chief fire god. So that's why I chose Aeonic, consistent with the musical theme. So the first Aeonic was a half-elf bard on the Project 1999 server. That's where I first started out, because night vision as a human is way worse there on P99 than it is on live. I prefer to roll human, but it doesn't help if you can't see, even with the light stone. The story starts in Unrest. I got to the teens, somewhere around 15, 16, and I got a group in the main room of Unrest. Very solid group. So we're grouping there fine. And as everyone knows, Unrest is legendary for its bad trains and its pretty bad line of sight issues, especially up and down floors. So Fireplace, the group above us, they get overwhelmed and they train to the exit and they run right through our camp and main room. And coming with them is 4 or 5 mobs, a majority of them being redcons. And before we can do anything, the majority of people in our group get rooted. We can't run. We are stuck there with a large amount of redcons and we can't run. We have maybe something like 5 or 6 mobs in camp at this point. Nowhere to go. And our healers were down to 20% mana. We are in full-on crisis mode. So I remember one thing, one unique spell that bards get that completely changed the tide of war. There is a lower level mez that bards get that functions entirely differently on P99 as it does on live. On live, it's just a single target mez, which wouldn't have helped much. But on P99, it's an AoE mez. And did I make use of that spell? I kept spamming it as much as I can. There was a lot of resist because there's redcons, but I kept spamming that AoE mez as much as I can. And by the time that we get down to 4 mobs left, our healers are completely out of mana. And so we're still trying to slowly beat down mobs one at a time. But the problem is, by the time we get to that 4th mob left, I had built up so much aggro by keeping things mez for so long that it was nearly impossible for the tanks to pull aggro off me. I was the tank at this point, and I didn't have the best gear. And so I'm trying to maintain crowd control. With healers almost out of mana, I'm almost dead, and I keep getting stunned and interrupted because I keep getting bashed by these mobs. Somehow we get down to 2 mobs left. And we're still on empty. Somehow I'm still alive, maybe with 30% health left. And then the worst happens. We had a full room repop in main room. Full repop. So we have an extra 4 mobs tack onto that 2. We're back up to 6. And we're still on empty. I'm almost dead. But fortunately they were lower level and I could keep them down. And so we keep things under control. Let mana regenerate up a little bit. And we beat another mob down. And after what seemed like 10 to 15 minutes, we came out of this, all of us, alive, because of that one AoE bard mess. After that, after a moment where we had a breather, a couple of group members sent me a tell. I'm gonna make a bard now. It's incredible what a well-played bard can do. They can save victory out of the jaws of defeat. They can somehow bring it through. A well-played bard is incredibly powerful. And that is one of the best stories I've ever had of playing this class, of where no one would have made it if it wasn't for me. And I wouldn't have been able to do that on EverQuest 2. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this anecdote. I will see you in the next one.